Hey everyone, welcome back to 20 Side Adventures. I have been reminded I have yet to make my video on what do I use on my Foundry virtual tabletop. So this video is going to be taking you through all of my modules, how I use them, why they're cool, and why you should use them at your table. I will have links to the most popular ones, or at least my favorite ones, in the description, as well as a full list of them so you can hunt them down for yourselves. And if I've missed any great modules that you use, I would love to hear about them. So with that, let's get right into it. All right, here we are at my Foundry table for my Scale Scourge game. This is my weekly Tuesday. As you can see, lots of effects still swirling around as they just finished a fight last week but aren't clear of the dungeons, so got to be careful not to mess with anyone too much. I'm in the middle to hopefully not block anything on the screen and make it easy to go through things, and here we go with my list of modules. So A to Z, no particular order here beyond that. I'll highlight some of my favorites. So the Casper Karma assessment is right here. This loads into your journal, and it gives you a way to track reputation with certain groups. You can also just if you're doing a game maybe with like alignment that matters, or like favor with a deity or other entities, you can use this as a real simple way to track it. It comes for 5e as well as Pathfinder 2e, and you can just completely customize the numbers and the ratios of when they like you and when it changes. So fully customizable, quick, easy way to just keep track of that, and very easy and visual for your players to see where they're at. Ace Library, I think that's a support module. Advanced Macros, I have a whole video on those. Go check that one out. Ambient Doors is a quality of life for me. It makes sound effects when you open doors, and I just appreciate sound effects in my game. Automated Animation, so that's doing this wounded effect or the Marshal's aura effect on the players here. It will also automate attacks, so if you swing a sword, you'll see a little sword animation. Break time. So this one's super handy. It lets your players let you know when they've stepped away. So if you open up your player list down here, there we go. Let me move this. You can see on the left here, Sigbrand is currently away from table, even though he's not even logged in. So, all right. You can also, if the whole table's taking a break, hit break time. Little automation goes off. It loads up everyone in the game, lets you know when they're, if it's, hey, we got a bio break, we're 2 hours in, we're all taking a break. Off you go. When each player comes back, they'll click I'm back. They will light up here, and you'll know when the whole table's here so the GM can start the game up. See there, it shows you when you're back, and away you'd go. Chat portrait, when you type, it uses your character's portrait instead of anything else to pop up. Dice So Nice, if you're not familiar, this lets you get customizable dice. This is a must-have for any Foundry table. Dice Tray is this down here where it gives you on the bottom right, a real quick, you click, you roll a d10. You can customize this into whatever you need to roll in the moment. Real just quick, easy way for some fast dice so people don't have to remember the type commands, even though they're not that hard. Let's see, where was I at? That was Dice Tray. Drag Ruler. This one's really handy. When you go to move a character, it measures for the move. And when you're in combat, this will give you a color coordination so you know your character's movement speed. So you'll drag it, and then when you hit your second move, it'll become yellow. When you hit your third move, it'll become red. So it lets you very easily tell how many actions you're taking to move around the board. Drag Upload, I don't use this one anymore, but this was maybe if you're used to Roll20, it lets you just drag things onto the table and it uploads it for you. I hardly ever use this. I use Forge's upload tool to just upload everything into the folders to keep it organized. Forge being who I host with. So yeah, I thought this would be real handy, and it helped me move over from Roll20, but I actually never use it anymore. Forian's Quest Log. This is one of my favorites, so this one will definitely get a link if I could remember where it is. So it's in the journals and notes, and then you have a quest log. And here you go. This brings up a real easy quest log for your players. It has all the different mini objectives within a quest, a description of the quest, who gave it to them, as well as you can throw very specific rewards and items in here if you want to make that public for your players. The quests also then come in if they're available, so they haven't picked up and started them yet. Ones they're working on, they can go back and see ones they've completed. You can highlight anything that's failed, and then they don't see this, but you have an inactive one, so these are quests that you've pre-built that you have not set for them yet. Hi, Achilles. Sorry, I got my guest star here. There he is. He's our old German Shepherd. All right. FX Master, so this lets you import a bunch of animations. I don't use them too much, but they're there, so you can have like snow effects, leaf effects, animals crawling around. It tends to bog down my players, so I try not to do a lot of constantly running animations. Health estimate, this is a really good one for some role play and to alleviate the constantly asking of how hurt is something. So when you mouse over a target, let me zoom in. As you can see here, Ismail is unharmed, or that character is unarmed. Unharmed. Alar is barely injured, as you can see when we mouse over him. So it lets you see how beat up your party members are, as well as you can get just a quick glance at enemies. So they're not asking, well, how hurt is that guy? Well, he's near death. Indolil got pretty messed up last fight. Constantly lose where I'm at. Health estimates. There we go. Animated assets, so this is just loading up more animations for all the different spells and effects. Journal entry share compendium, so this was just simply from moving from my Pathfinder 1 to my Pathfinder 2 game. You can send journal entries between tables on Forge. These are just background support apps to make other ones work. Lordu's custom dice for Dice So Nice, so it's more dice options. Minimum UI, because so many mods I felt really was cluttering up the UI. This shrinks everything down, so all the buttons are a little smaller, so I really enjoyed that. Monk's active tile triggers, blood splats, combat details, pretty much anything from Monk is pretty solid. Here we can just do we'll just throw these guys into a quick combat, so you can kind of get an idea of what that'll do. So we're gonna roll everyone's initiative. And then when we begin the encounter, so it pops up the counter for everyone, plays some sound effects in the background, and then it'll give you the swirling effect so you know whose turn it is. For the GM, it moves who you're viewing to the token that's currently up. So if you have a lot of bad guys and NPCs around, it'll bounce around the map, so I don't have to find each one. It will also turn dead tokens into little blood splats, which is nice for thematic effect and cleaning it up and make it real obvious as to which bad guys are down. I have had some problems that when you move over and interact with those tile or those tokens, there's some problems there. I think I just need to dig more into the settings. It'll also give you turn alerts, so when your turn comes up, it'll give you a sound effect that, hey, you're next. It'll give you a message that says, hey, you're next, and then it'll give you an audible sound that when it is your turn. So when you are playing on a virtual table, if you have players maybe who are tabbed out, working on other things, looking things up, knee-deep into their spell list, trying to figure out what they're going to do on their next turn, they will get an audio reminder that it's time for them to clue in and get their turn ready to try and speed that up for the next turn. Monks also has a really great journal tool here, which gives you a lot more options in the journal. So let me just pull up a person so we can see it. So this gives you a much more in-depth journal entry, so you have descriptions, you can give details, so ideals, bonds, flaws. There's a lot more you can list into here as well, with age, how their voice sounds, faction they're a part of, traits, and you can customize this list. Skin color, life status, so if they're dead or not, pronouns preferred, do they have a profession, height, weight, long-term goals, short-term goals, beliefs, any secrets they have. I've never used that one, I hope it is GM side, which I'm sure it is. Gives you just very more in-depth player journals, as well as a wide variety of journals that you can create. So if we create a new journal entry here, you can do encounters, events, legitimate journal entries. You can do lists, loot lists, organizations. So these are set up very specifically for an organization instead of a character. Person, that's what you have here. Picture, so if you just want an image for them to see. places. So this is going to have a lot of breakouts like city for cities or locations. Points of interest, again, very similar. You can do quests through this one, but I find the quest tracker is a little better. You can load up shops so players can actually purchase from these. And then you can also do a slideshow if there's a series of images you want to have played to your players. I actually used this one for my players' last game. It was mosaics in a ruin they found, so their whole screen gets taken up and plays through these highly pixelated images that they had to try to discern what was being said or going on in these images. So again, just lots of tools that makes the journal a lot more impactful. I don't think I have any other quick ones I can grab here. Let's see. We'll show you. This is an organization, so this is the Serene Republic of Amaranthus. The players actually kind of helped build this government. So you can drag journal entries in here for different characters and what their relations are to the organization. If the organization's offering anything, you can drag items into this list or actors or just anything going on, and it shows up. And then the notes are specific to each login, so the GM can have notes and each player can take their own notes about this organization or things that they find important to remember. And then let's see, this is a location. No, I take that back. This is an import from World Anvil, which we'll see when we get down to the W's, as there is a module here that lets you bring in all of your content from World Anvil, so you don't have to retype it or move it over, or have your players tabbing back and forth. You can drop it right into your tabletop. So Monk's Journal, all of Monk's tools really are fantastic. The active tile triggers, you can create tiles with triggers on them, so when characters walk over the trap, text pops up, asks them for the roll, and it's secret to that player, so only they know they sprung the trap, unless you want to set it up to where it's a big trap that everyone's aware of. So in this last game, the kobolds hurriedly dug some little pit traps for people to twist their ankles in, and when they weren't searching for traps and they were moving around the map, they would walk over the tiles, the image would change to the little pit trap, they'd get the text message in their log saying, hey, this happened to you, and gives them all the things for the rolls. So again, can't speak highly enough for all of Monk's tools. Very, very handy. Multi-face tiles, so you can have a tile with multiple images, so if you want something that they interact with on the map and it changes. Path Muncher, so this is great if your players use Path Builder, so you can pull Path Builder right into your game, and it's 90%. Certain things don't come through, but it's a great way to help streamline. Also, if you're doing like a convention, or you're doing what's it called? The official play with Paizo, and you want to be able to move your character around, having it in Path Builder, and then just being able to import it to a Foundry table is great. Patrol I've only used once, but it lets tokens patrol the map. So if you have guards on a patrol and you want them just going at their pace, and you don't want to have to think about where they're moving or where they should be now, they will just run their patrol on the map while the players are exploring everywhere else until they run into that. PF2E shopping experience. This preloads some shops into your compendium. Let's see, I think it's just under shop. Yep, so you have common shops or an Atari shop, and here you go, from level 1 to 20 of potions, scrolls, apparel, weapons, alchemical, armor. And you can just drop these onto a map, and there's a pre-built shop of some items that are already available. It just makes it real easy for on the fly having some shops. Let's see, animation macros, so that again, all the animations you see in playing, that's a support one. Automatic rune progression, so I like automatic bonus progression for the striking and the defensive runes. I don't like that in 2E you have to get the +1 rune, the +1 dice rune, the +1 armor rune, and the +1 resistance rune. Like, they're a must-have for the math to continue to work out for your progression. It is just not fun as a GM to be handing out those because they're a must-have, but I also don't like the no item bonuses for skills and other things that come with automatic bonus progression. So someone made this automatic rune progression because they felt the same way. They wanted to just give the +1s and the extra dice to your weapons and your armor without everything else that comes with automatic bonus progression. So there it is. It's fantastic. Highly recommend it. The Companion Compendia is everything you need to load pet classes into your Foundry table. fully automated, so you don't have to figure out how to custom make your familiars and your animal companions. Drag ruler integration, so that just works again with the color things. It's a support one, as I already mentioned. Keybind menagerie, this just lets you set up keybinds for a lot of different things. The PF2E loot generator, so if you want a real quick, right here, sorry. Yep, we're going to execute the macro. So it creates a macro that gives you this loot generation table. It's going to be treasure. It's going to be level 10. And we're going to have 5. Rarity, we're going to say this is pretty rare because it was a pretty unique find. Party, yep, and go. And that should generate us a... Oh, where'd they go? Oh, I gotta select an actor. Well, I'm not gonna do that because that'll dump it all into their party table loot thing, and they don't get any of that. So that would dump whatever they found right into the stash. Different selection there. It'll create a new sheet with all your loot on it. But quick way if you need random loot in the system. So you can use a loot generator on another site, but then you got to go look up all the items in the compendium, drag them in somewhere. That one will just do it for you. So just real quick quality of life. The monster maker, this is also a must-have. I tend to use it more truthfully for NPCs than I do actual monsters. But when you go to create an actor, we're going to create an NPC. This is a test monster. All right, and what you do is here you go right up to monster maker. What does this need to be? You name it, you pick the level you need for your encounter. We're going to say level 5. Roadmap, is this a brute, a striker, a skirmisher, a sniper, a soldier, or a spellcaster? We're going to say this is a soldier. So then it pre-populates ability scores, should they be high or moderate, hit points in relation to their level, strike bonuses in relation to their level, and then you come down here and fill out any checks. So athletics should probably be high. What else would they probably have? Intimidation will be moderate. They might have medicine because they're a soldier. That's probably going to be low, though. That's probably all this NPC is going to need. Or if you're making it for an NPC character that they need to interact with, depending on what they are. So if they're a diplomat, you can just pop in here real quick. The top part doesn't matter too much for what their roadmap is. But you could say, okay, I need this this clerk at the civic office of the town. They're probably going to have a moderate wisdom. They're pretty high in intelligence. And we need these stats real quick. Boom, hit submit. And it fills out a quick sheet for you. So it's a really good way to build NPCs for non-combat on the fly, as well as just creating an improvised monster. Now, it's not going to have any fun pre-built effects and extra attacks that you can do. If you really are into building your own monster, you can absolutely add them in. You can drag and pull them in from other monsters in the compendium. I found it a little easier for bad guys to just modify existing ones from Paizo versus building from the ground up. But this is my go-to for creating non-combat NPCs that the players are going to need to deal with. All right. Pathfinder UI, that was a new UI for Foundry that's set just for Pathfinder. I rather like it. Playtest data, so we could try the new playtest stuff. Ranged combat, so this gives you a reload macro and a much better way to track a bunch of ranged rules in Pathfinder. Rule element generator, so this is for those of you who are getting into Foundry and doing, well, creating your own homebrew items or custom magic items, or just generally tweaking with the automation and the system itself. So if you just want to make this piece of armor, this is going to be test armor. Boom. So when you come into your rules, you can build rule elements. Well, what this does is you get this new rule element here, and this takes the building and dumbs it down a little bit. So I want to build an immunity. Oops, it's not loading. Maybe it's a strike. Nope, that's not showing me what I want either. I wonder if my server's lagging. Let's just try flat modifier. That probably will give me the most. Okay. Let's try reloading it. There it is. Okay, so you're supposed to get all of these options in here when you want to make something happen. So if you want an immunity, the type of immunity we want, fire. Predicates. So this is any rules for this fire effectiveness to happen, but you just update it and it builds the code for you. You apply it, boom. So this just helps you build these rule elements if you're not very familiar with them. Just a quick helper tool, really. Okay, let's see. Target damage. So this when you're in combat, it will pop up your damage and it will apply it to whoever you targeted to. So as the GM, I don't have to worry about which token I have selected, who it is, where I'm looking on the map. I can just click yes, take the damage, and as long as the player targeted the right bad guy, it assigns the damage to the right token. The utility button, so that's why I left this up. So that gives us two things here. It gives you these flat check buttons down here. So for quick flat checks, you have DC 5 and DC 11. So you just come down here, boom, I need to roll a DC 5 flat check. It rolls it, lets you know if you succeed or not. It also gives you this button, which is delay. So if your player wants to delay, they just say, hey, I want to delay. Combat moves along, okay. Arian, we go to the next one. Oh, hey, I want to come in now. Adelon will come in after Longway, and it moves him in the correct order. So that's a great quality of life tool for both of those things. Workbench, again, that gives you access to some of the macros. It's a must-have, just does lots of behind-the-scenes integrations and streamlining. Polyglot, so this one's a lot of fun. This one gives you a bunch of different languages in-game. So each character, as you see here when I click on the right, it shows you what languages they know. And then if the player were to switch to this and then type in it, only players that know that language will be able to read what they type. I use this predominantly for, let me go back to my journals. Oh, here we go. So you see here, this is what the players will see when they find this item, hopefully next week. The language is all garbled. If one of the players knows this language, it'll appear normal to them when they load this journal entry up. And then as the GM, you can just click it and see the writing. I just really enjoy it. It makes languages kind of matter. You can have really just a lot of fun with it. So big fan of Polyglot. You can also completely customize it. So I don't know if you guys were looking that closely here, but these are all of Eraneth's languages. So Draconic, Gnome Dagaran, Ilsanar, the Iron Speech, Mithrain, Onarian, and Orcish. So you can it comes with Pathfinder default or whatever game you want to set up. They also have it for 5e. But you can also make completely customized languages. You can even upload your own fonts for them if you want to get really into the weeds on that. I just use their default fonts, and I kind of pick ones that I feel are thematic to it, but you can go all out and get custom fonts with Polyglot. Pop out, I never use it. My players ask for it. It lets you pop windows out of your main screen here. You know, maybe if I had a second monitor, that would be cooler, but I've just never set that up. Potato or not, this is a good one if you're GMing for lots of different people and doing a lot of different games. When you first log into the Foundry table, it asks you what kind of potato you have. So if your computer isn't great, you can say a not great potato. If you have an awesome gaming machine, you can say you have a golden potato, and it will adjust all of the Foundry stats to optimize for the type of potato you're running on. Psionics Reborn is my homebrew psionics content, so nothing much to talk about there, though we will be, we're playtesting it now, and I am looking forward to publishing it here in the near future. Completely honest, I forgot what quick scale does. I think it adjusts size of monsters for you, so when you change to a large creature, it scales the token up. Roll of Fate, so this is a great one for GMs. You can set it up for players, but I found it just didn't have a whole bunch of use. So if a bad guy doesn't know which of these three they want to target, you come right over here to this yin yang button that you get on your toolbar on the right. You roll it, and it has said that Chronokara has seen all of time, and Longway is the one chosen. So it's basically just rolling a random dice to see who's going to get affected by or targeted by whatever's happening. You can customize the images as well as the scripts, so it comes with some default scripts. I've changed all of mine to reference Eraneth deities of time and fate, so it's just you know, thematic lore flair when you do this, but it lets the GM Pick by not pick who's going to get affected and leave it up to fate. Players, if they're also having a hard time making decisions, instead of rolling a 1d4 for the decision, you can let them have access to it, but they have to be able to select the token, so it loses some player side functionality. But for the game master, highly enjoy it. Makes it real fair on when bad guys don't have a good reason to do something, why they've chosen what they've chosen. Roll tracker. So this is a fun one if folks like statistics. So you have this little dice icon next to everyone. So if I click it, this will bring up my stats as the game master. Here, let me pull them up because I'm in the center here. So in this game, my mean is 11, median's 12. My mode is 13 and 14. I've had 5 instances of each. I've had 1 natural 1, 0 20s, and this is counting the last 49 rolls. So you can adjust this to be however many rolls you want it to keep track of. You can also hit this little as the GM bars and stats up here. And this pulls the whole party's basics, so it tells you at the table who's the highest, who's the lowest, and all of these different statistics. We start every game with stats so people can commiserate or celebrate over last week's rolls, whatever they may be. I also just enjoy the stat nerd in there, so if you have a player that's complaining that, oh, my rolls are never good, well, you can look and see. Is it all in their head? Are they rolling badly? Is it just in combat and that's what they're most focused on, but maybe they're doing great in social encounters? Yeah, it's nice to have the stats. Scale Scourge scenes, again, this was moving over from my Pathfinder 1 to 2. Sequencers, a support one. Simple calendar, you've probably seen this. As I've been moving things around, I do very long form campaigns. We go days, months, years. This isn't 3 weeks in a dungeon, campaign's over, you've gone from 1 to 20. Those kind of games are weird to me. So this lets you have your entire world and your calendar. As you can see, you can completely customize it. I have 5 weeks in a month, 7-day weeks. The days are named. You can see the moon cycle that corresponds to the moon cycle in my world. When you hit play, time actually ticks, except I am in a combat encounter, so it won't let me do that right now. When you are in the combat encounter, every round ticks 6 seconds on the clock, so that's nice. This works though when players are doing exploration, non-combat things. The clock can actually be ticking, so if they're just sitting and arguing and debating and can't figure out what to do next, time is ticking, time is moving, other things can be happening, so it gets them out of that analysis paralysis because they have to go and do something. This has also been handy when I've had players on 2 sides of a city kind of doing things simultaneously. They could kind of keep track of ideas because one was moving to get to there and options they took and the time, and it just allowed them when they would actually come together and meet up. So really great tool for that. You can also add notes, so when specific things are happening on a date. So you got a note here, and you just can keep track of when things are supposed to be going on. If you're a crafter, you load your crafting into this. You can preload holidays that are important to your world into the calendar. So as you've seen, I have that default table. My simple calendar set up on that table with all of these stats and things that go on in Eraneth, and every game I make from that table has the right calendar with the right dates, the right moon cycle, and just all of those nuances to your homebrew world. So that's another one of my favorite ones, obviously. Smart Target. So this one lets you change the targeting icon to a picture of who's targeting them versus a color dot, so it's just real easy to identify who's targeting who and where. Has a couple other utilities for remembering who you targeted last round and things like that. Stairways is a fantastic teleporter tool. That's what you can see here on the map. So this teleports you to the city, moves you over to this one. We can go back to the other town. If we want to go around the town itself, this I actually stole from my GM. He had his city map and then all of the locations they visited. You can click around so the players can move around the map, go to different places during their exploration and downtime, and you don't have to keep dragging them around to all of the different parts of the map. They can just go wherever they want to go. It can get a little chaotic if players are all over the city and you're having to jump between maps to keep tabs on what they have going on. But it's a real streamlined, easy to use teleportation tool. I had used a couple other ones, and this one is by far the best for just rooms in a dungeon, moving between levels, or doing something like being able to explore and travel the whole city when you're in town from your downtime. Let's see, that was stairs. Yep, stairway. Stream utilities. If you wanted to stream any of your games, this has a lot of utilities in for it. We never have, but I thought it was a useful tool. Sirenscape controls, so I use Sirenscape. That lets you import sound settings from your Sirenscape, put them right into here. You can also then link these to specific maps, so if you want a sound effect to start when you enter a certain map, it can. You can also tie these sound effects to the active tiles, and so the sound effect will play when someone comes into radius of it. If you've used Sirenscape, you'll know it's really hard to have like one-shot soundboards without having to have a specific page loaded up. So that is fixed, oddly enough. When you're using your Foundry tabletop, you can load up single sound effects, click and play them. And so if you just want a single sound to happen, it is at a fingertip in your macros here to make the sound happen. So solves a functionality problem that a lot of folks have always complained about in Sirenscape. Let's see, where were we at? That was Sirenscape. Time's up. So this is when someone casts a buff outside of combat, it links in with Simple Calendar and watches the time tick down. So if you have a 10-minute buff on for a spell, in 10 minutes when the calendar's 10 minutes are up, it will be up. If you have 10 rounds of a buff or a spell being on you, combat ends in 3, it will watch Simple Calendar for the next 30 some odd seconds, 40 seconds, and then drop the buff automatically for you. Token Action HUD, I think this is a must-have for a GM. My players get 50-50 use out of it, I feel. Some like it, some don't. And that's this right up here. Oops. So this loads up everything from your sheet, so everything that can be a strike, all of your quick actions if you want to reference something, things in your inventory, take a quick look at your feats, you can drop spells, you can roll just a straight attribute if you're not using a basic action macro. It gives you skills and lets you know how good you are at the skills in the party, and you can also quickly add effects to your character from here instead of messing with the token. And then utilities, make invisible, remove combat, some treat wounds, and some other just quick tools loaded in. As a GM, not having to open up every character sheet for every bad guy that's coming up, just being able to quickly go up here, boom, hit their strike, go. I find it's just a lot more manageable. Token Action HUD, Token Attacher, so this lets you attach things to a token. Token Auras lets auras be more effective and automatically apply things. Token HUD Wildcard. Oh, this one lets you have multiple images for a token. So Indalel here is a shapeshifter, so he has a lot of different images that he could possibly be using. So we set it up. Let me actually scroll that up so I'm not covering it with the thing. So if we wanted to be in his half-dragon shape, he could. His true doppelganger form, and then back to his usual elfin appearance. You'll also see here it gives you a little shadowy image when you're in combat, so it shows you where your token started from. If you started to move and you're like, wait a minute, I don't want to do that, it keeps track of exactly where you started, so you can roll back. That, I believe, is one of the monk tools that does that. Again, get all of monk's tools. Super useful. So let's see, that was the token HUD, token magic effects, and variant art. So these two work together, the wild card and the variant art, to pull all those together. Truthfully, I think what the variant art does what Indalel does, and the wild card does what my NPCs do. So if I could remember actors. So I have these NPC tabs, and I have all of these just generic NPCs. So all of these, so adventurers, aristocrats, autumn fae, commoners, draconia, dwarves, elves, gnomes, goblins, they all have a folder in my Forge hosting service with all of these tokens in it, and when I pull out this sheet, it will give me a random aristocrat from that folder. Boom, there it is. I need a commoner, so it's going to give me a random commoner from that folder. So it lets you quickly populate for like a town or a tavern or a room that doesn't really have NPCs that are going to be really interacted with, but you want to have the room feel alive to your players. That's what I do. And again, all of these NPC sheets are set up in my default Foundry table, so whenever I make a new table, I copy that one, and all those NPCs are ready to go. I don't have to build them for each game I want to play. That's very art. Token Z, completely have no idea what that does. 100% forgot some of these. You just load them up because they're a good idea. So should probably look that up, see what it does. Tokenizer, so this one's real handy. If for other players coming in with their character art, they can upload their own character image and it converts it into a token like you see these guys rocking here. Torch, this one's super handy. If you have a torch in your inventory, you can click this little button here and your character lights up and uses the torch from your inventory. Warp Gate, this is the other teleportation mod I was talking about. I should remove it because I didn't really care for it. It was really complicated, so Stairway, much better. Weather Blocker, so this uses if you have overall global weather effects that I previously mentioned, you can draw these boxes onto the table and Weather Blocker will prevent the weather from happening inside of those areas. Very handy. World Anvil integration, so this is what pulls the World Anvil in. Very handy there, and some zoom pan options let you change how you move around and look around the table. So yeah, these are all of my Foundry modules. They create for a very interactive, streamlined, and fun virtual tabletop experience. I would love to hear from you guys if there's any must-have modules you use and what I should be using and what I've missed. I'd love to hear about what's your favorite ones that you didn't know about before. And we'll see you next time on 20 Sided Adventures.